One of the biggest arguments of the supporters of the Pashinyan regime is at least that we don't have the corruption of the Nakhkins. This was always a very subjective argument, at least to me, but recent bombshell allegations about political campaign contributions has been called unprecedented even by Western watchdogs. A report released by Infocom talks about millions of drams being donated to civil contracts campaign involving Tigran Armenian ahead of the 2023 elections in Yerevan. The party in total was able to raise over $1.25 million, which is over 500 million dram, allegedly from common Yerevan residents. Civil Contract initially fought back against requests to release the names of the donors. And when it finally did, of course, after losing the court battle to stop that from coming up, Infocom was able to track down many of the donors, each of whom are reported to have donated millions of drams, generally the maximum allowed, which is 2.5 million drams per person. This is in a country where the average monthly salary is 250,000 drams per month. So about a year's worth of salary was donated on average by common Yerevan residents. So when Infocom asked these people directly, many of them denied making donations, or they recalled incidents when they were asked to sign bank slips indicating that they were making cash donations to civil contract. Or some, made some phone calls and later confirmed, yeah, that's my savings and I donated it to civil contract. So what? Many of the alleged donors lived in the same building or neighborhood or worked at the same company. Just to sum it up, it appears that certain people convinced their neighbors or coworkers to falsely sign paperwork that the cash was being donated to civil contract was being done by them. Harant, what is your assessment of this scandal and revelation?
Well, let's say it's not the first scandal regarding the financing of civil contract and authority-related funds. We can remember 2018 when there was extensive donation campaign to the civil contract fund regarding the parliamentary elections of 2018. And then we can remember the case of City of Smile Foundation, where different opponents of political authorities were putting their money, and we have observed several cases when they have made a donation to this fund and then they have stopped being persecuted. So we can call this corruption, I think, as well. Then we have observed several cases, major cases of contrabanda towards Russia. And then lately we have observed lots of drug contrabanda cases, including several cases with one or more tons of drugs passing through Armenia or directed to Armenia or coming. Let's say we can remember the Rome airport, the Russian border, the one case where they found lots of drugs in Armenia as well. And drugs dissemination is always connected to corruption. So these are just some of the cases which indicate that we have a systemic issue of corruption, which is, let's say, as of now, it's less spread than previously on the lower grade, on the lower levels of government bureaucracy. But I'm afraid it's not less spread in the higher tiers of bureaucracy. And also some of the corrupt practices have been replaced by other. Previously, some representatives of bureaucracy would get informal payments, money directly in cash. And now they are getting these payments officially. But let's say if you are getting extra money every 1 or 2 months, so effectively doubling your salary compared to what is reserved by the law, you can assume this is also bribing, although it is transparent bribing, but it's still bribing. And then we have lots of other cases which are also regarding the property redistribution since 2018. So I cannot say that we got rid of corruption. So at some point, the government procurement have become, after the so-called revolution in 2018, the government procurement became more transparent. We have seen a lot of improvement there. But right now, we see that most of the procurement cases are made from one seller or one contractor, and they became again less transparent. So we have observed lots of corruption-related cases lately, and I think, unfortunately, this is a major trend. So I don't think we made any significant improvement if we exclude the case of lower grades of bureaucracy.
So one more episode that I would like to mention related to these shadow donations. If you remember during the 2018 coup, when the Dukhovs or the Velvets came to power, immediately after that, their first target was the Yerevan Avakani. And Lena Nazaryan, who was a parliamentarian at the time, tore herself up trying to uncover who had made donations to this entity called the Yerevan Foundation, which was set up by the Yerevan Avakani, and it was essentially the fundraising arm for the Yerevan Council. And even for donations such as 100,000 dram, it was a huge scandal. Basically, they applied pressure against Daron Markaryan. They applied pressure against the Yerevan Avakani to disclose who the donors to the foundation were and to resign. And after Daron Markaryan said that he would not resign, the National Security Service opened a criminal case, raided the Yerevan Foundation, confiscated all of their records and all their paperwork. Now it's 5 years after that, and not a single news about that criminal case, not a single news about what was wrong with those donations, other than the names being anonymous. But what happened was that after the pressure by the National Security Service, the Yerevan Avakani failed to meet twice, failed to ensure quorum twice. Apparently, some of the members were also pressured, but that's an assumption on my part. And what happened then is that triggered new elections. And to close the loop, here comes Haik Marutian, who then ran a very filthy campaign using vile language such as, blacks versus white. It was very divisive. And that's how Haik Marutian came to power, and he's now a favorite target of Nikol Pashinyan, it appears. And one more thing, immediately after the Yerevan City Council elections were won by civil contract, Lena Nazaryan dropped her efforts to reform the laws to make these kinds of donations more transparent. Very interesting, or very Orwellian, to put it another way.
Yeah, good case to continue the corruption topic.
Okay, we can always talk about corruption, and we should, but let's focus on other areas that happened this week, other news. Of course,
you mean, speaking of corruption, let's turn our attention to Azerbaijan.